evening. Here's top news newsletter starting with headlines. Al-Muallim, we will put every effort to make Moscow meeting a success. Lavrov to Kerry, all parties should exert efforts to reach political settlement in Syria. Iran warned Tel Aviv of the response to Israel's recent raid. Iran's plans to maintain its naval presence in the international waters. Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim stressed that Israel is an essential part of the conspiracy against Syria, noting that the government is commissioned to help make Moscow meeting a success. The aim of this meeting, al-Muallim made it clear, it's to come to agree on holding a Syrian dialogue to draw out a vision of Syria's future. There won't be at Moscow meeting countries interfering or siding by one party against another, said al-Muallim, adding that there will be a government delegation and position figures meeting on a Friday territory. Al-Muallim stressed in an interview that Israel seeks through the U.S. to prolong the crisis in Syria as much as possible. He dismissed Israel's aggression in the southern province of Konaitira as transgression against Syria, sovereignty and partisan act of aggression against the Syrian territory. Al-Muallim made it clear that possible return to Arab League is contingent to having all decisions which were issued against the will of the Syrian people cancelled. Al-Muallim affirmed that Russia's position on Syria will not be affected by the international pressure being practiced on Russia. While the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stressed in a phone call with U.S. counterpart John Kerry the need that all the parties concerned exert the necessary efforts for reaching a political settlement to the crisis in Syria. The Russian Foreign Ministry said in a statement that Kerry affirmed Washington's support for the upcoming meeting on Syria in Moscow, scheduled for late January. The statement published in Russia Today website added that both sides referred to the importance of the peaceful initiative put forth by the UN Special Envoy for Syria Staffan de Mistura, including those aimed at achieving local reconciliations. The ministry pointed out that the phone call which has made by the US side touched upon issues related to Russian-American relations. Talks in Moscow and scheduled to take place between 26 and 29. They are aimed to coming agree on holding an inter-Syrian conference to politically solve the crisis in Syria. In the field, authorities stormed and seized the munition depot in the western Mashtal area in the city of Hama, central Syria. The depot was found containing large amounts of weapons, C4 explosives, devices and equipment to make explosives, a military source said. The source noted that the operation, which also resulted in capturing 2 terrorists which were sighted in the depot, was carried out with the help of the locals in the area. The last month, unit of the army in cooperation with the Popular Defense Group seized 5 cars laden with heavy weapons coming from Turkey near Asapura town in the eastern countryside of Hama. Relating to the last raid on Syria, commander of the Islamic Revolution Guard Groups, Major General Mohammed al-Jafari, warned Tel Aviv of devastating response of the regional resistance movement in the Israeli recent air raid on the Syrian Golan Heights that killed several Hezbollah members and an Iranian military advisor. Major General al-Jafari issued a statement after a martyrdom of the top IGRC officer, Brigadier General Muhammad Ali Dadi, who was killed in the Israel attack during an advisory mission in Syria's southern region of Al-Qunaitira. He remained steadfast for the collapse of the Zionist regime of Israel through its continued support for the Lebanese and Palestinian combatants. But this time its supports will be a scale larger than its support during 30-day and 51 days war against the Israeli army. General Jafari added. Jafari vowed that devastating thunderbolts will strike Israel following its recent attack in Syria that killed a member of Hezbollah forces and the IRGC general. In another review, Navy Commander Rear Admiral Habibullah Sayyari announced that Iran's plan to maintain its naval presence in the international waters, especially the Gulf of Aden and north of the Indian Ocean. Over the past few years, the Iranian Navy has been in the Gulf of Aden and north of the Indian Ocean to fight against terrorism, Rear Admiral Habibullah Sayyari said in a meeting with the commander of Iman's National Defense College, Major General Salim Musallam Qattan. The Islamic Republic of Iran's Navy has deployed in the north of the Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Aden, and this presence will continue forever, he added. Qattan, on his part, called for the future expansion of relations between Iran and Oman and said the two countries' navies have good cooperation in fighting terrorism and drug traffic fighting. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nibal Hnedi. Good night.